Japan is home to some of the most haunted places all over the world. From cemeteries to entire forests, there is no shortage of places that will leave you running for the hills. You guessed it, I am back again with part 2 of the most terrifying locations across Tokyo. So if you do plan to go to the capital anytime soon, just be careful where you visit, because with the places on this list, you might never return. Starting us off at number 10, the Sendagaya Tunnel. It was constructed in 1964 when Tokyo was hosting the Olympics, but don't let its new construction date fool you. It is definitely haunted and you definitely want to steer clear. They built the tunnel over a cemetery, which of course never turns out well, and it's said that many angry and relentless spirits haunt the area to this day. The most witnessed ghost is a long-haired, blood-stained woman who's been known to give drivers a fright by hanging off their cars upside down, inciting numerous accidents over the years. Luckier drivers have reported only seeing strange handprints appearing on their cars out of nowhere, but everyone that drives through gets a bad feeling that someone or something doesn't want them there. Next up at number 9, the Hachioji Cemetery. Unlike many other cemeteries, it's not actually the grounds that are haunted by those buried here, but instead one very specific fixture located on the western side of the grounds. A ghostly woman is said to haunt a phone booth located in the cemetery at night, and as the legend goes, if you dare make a call, she'll appear, terrorizing you until you leave. If you're lucky, she'll just stare at you, but if you catch her in a bad mood, it's said that she will let out a blood-curdling wail that can be heard for miles. Now, luckily in this day and age, not many people need a phone booth, but just in case, I'd steer clear of the cemetery altogether. Next up at number 8, the Round Schoolhouse. Built in 1906 as a school, it ran for about 60 years before it ultimately shut down and has been abandoned ever since. Soon after its doors shut, strange paranormal activity like apparitions, floating lights, strange shapes, and abandoned objects showing up out of nowhere started coming out of the shadows, catching the eye of paranormal enthusiasts all across Japan. But many that went to visit the abandoned lot came back with troubling stories of what they'd heard, and some returned as if they were completely different people, talking incoherently and as if they had lost their minds. Since then, few have dared to try it out, afraid they might be possessed or haunted for life from whatever lies behind the old stone walls. Next up at number 7, the Okutama Ropeway. In Japan, there is a subculture among explorers called Heikyo. Those that practice visit eerie and most importantly abandoned locations, and apparently this ropeway is considered to be one of Tokyo's hotspots. Located atop a hill in the Lake Okutama region lies an old cable car station that first opened in 1962. But then it mysteriously closed after only 5 years of operation in 1966. Though no one knows exactly why it shut down, legend has it that a male and female ghost both haunt the area, and that the owner of the ropeway mysteriously disappeared and has never been seen or heard of since the closure. Over the years, several accidents have taken place here from visitors trying to visit the abandoned lot, and many believe that whoever it is that haunts the ropeway is trying to send a message. Keep away or else things could get much, much worse. Coming in at number 6, the Aoyama Cemetery. It might be beautifully decorated with rows of cherry blossom trees, but don't get too comfortable with the gorgeous scenery, because although it bursts with life in the day, once it gets dark, the true colors of this haunting cemetery come out of the shadows. As the legend goes, a taxi driver was picking up a young girl from the cemetery one night, but after a few minutes when he looked back, she was gone and the seat was completely drenched. Rumor has it that many taxi drivers to this day refuse to pick up anyone from the cemetery at night, in fear that it will be another ghost coming to terrorize them and even Bus drivers have reported the stoplight going off when they are nearby the cemetery at night, even though no one is on board. So if you do want to see the pretty pink trees, just stick to the sunlight and you should be good to go. Next up at number 5, Aokigahara Forest. Since the 1950s, this forest has earned its scary reputation from being the unfortunate and all too often site for many to take their own life. So much so that officials have placed signs at the front of many of the trails urging all that enter to call a helpline if they're thinking of taking their life. But it's not just those that took their own lives that are believed to haunt the grounds. Allegedly, the dark and eerie forest was once used to practice ubasut, an ancient practice of carrying an old woman up to the top of a secluded area and then abandoning her there, leaving her to die. It's said the souls of the women haunt the woods, seeking revenge on those who took their lives from them, and some believe that if you walk into the forest, you will never make it out alive. Coming in at number 4, Suzugamori. Established in 1651, Suzugamori operated as one of the largest execution grounds for 220 years. During this time, it's estimated nearly 100,000 people were killed by the military, most commonly by being beheaded, although they did have some even more gruesome ways to get the job done that drew attention of the town. After the executioner took their big swing, they would let the head of the condemned fall to the ground and leave it there until it was drained of all its blood. From there, it was washed before being put on display for the whole city to see. Kind of like a sick warning of what could happen to you if you stepped out of line. Today it's littered with Buddhist monuments to try and keep the countless souls at bay, but they are no match for the entities that haunt the grounds. Some say that if you take a picture of the well they used to clean the decapitated heads, that the ghosts will show themselves. Just be careful, as they are also known to scream. Next up at number 3, Okiku's well. Supposedly haunted by the spirit of Okiku, this well has a tragic tale of how it became haunted. The story says that Okiku was a young servant of the samurai Tessen, and the samurai was madly in love with Okiku, but she did not feel the same way. The samurai did not take kindly to this rejection and framed the young girl for stealing one of his 10 precious golden plates to try and outcast her from her community. He then told her he could make it all go away if she agreed to become his lover. Otherwise, she would be punished. Okiku once again refused his offer, as she did not love him and didn't want to spend any kind of life with a man that would try and frame her as a criminal. Turned down for a second time, the samurai threw Okiku down the well in a fit of rage, where she died from drowning. It's said that at night she can still be heard wailing from the well, crying out the numbers 1 through 9 to torment the samurai before vanishing in her well for another day. Next up at number 2, Oiran Buchi. Once home to a top secret gold mine run by the Takeda clan, at its height of wealth in the 16th century, the clan decided to employ 55 courtesans for the miners to keep them happily distracted while not on the job. But as the mine began to decline, the area took a dark turn. The clan lost possession of the land in battle, and now, all dried up of gold and with no reason to remain, the Takeda clan decided to flee. But first, they had to do something about the women, as they didn't want the enemies learning of the gold mine and feared the courtesans knew too much from being intimate with the miners. So to solve their problem, a platform was constructed, suspended over the gorge, and all the courtesans were told to come by for a party on the bridge. Unsuspecting of their fate, all the women came to the bridge that night, only for the Takeda clan to slash the ropes holding up the platform, sending all the women plummeting to their death. It's said the wailing women can still be heard from the gorge below, crying out in agony. But men, beware if you visit. Don't stand too close to the edge, as the ghosts are known to seek revenge on men specifically. And last up, in our number 1 spot, Building 2283. Once a part of the housing for the US Air Force in Japan, Building 2283 has since been demolished because of how haunted it was. But despite there being no building, it hasn't stopped the spirits from terrorizing passersby. Legend has it that in the 1970s, an Air Force officer killed his entire family in the house before taking his own life. Then the next family that moved in after immediately felt paranoid, and the father soon went mad and stabbed his entire family. Afraid that there was a malevolent demon in the house possessing families, it became a storage shed, but the haunting didn't end there. Those that walked past heard haunting cries and unsettling laughter, and on one occasion a woman was seen washing her hair in the kitchen sink. Apparently they tried to tear down the building multiple times, but workers that attempted the feat developed migraines, hallucinations, and injuries while on the job. If all that wasn't scary enough, some swear to have witnessed the house glowing before a samurai on a horse is seen trotting through the living room, and no one knows who he is or what he wants. Well, there you have it guys. Thanks so much for watching. As always, I'm Kennedy, and I'll see you next time.